Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do an interview with me and talk to our communities about the work that you're doing with toxic taters. Um, we are trying this new thing where we're doing Zoom interviews with some of the leaders who are doing the great work in Minnesota. And so yeah, but I know it's like a busy season. It's always busy.
It's
uh,
always busy. There's we're a quiet season. I don't know.
yeah. But thank you again for, taking the time. And I am such a big fan of yours, and I'm excited to share, to hear a little bit more from you about all this great stuff that you're doing and share it with the folks that we're in community with through PAN.
All
So
right, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, I get to talk with you and work with you all the time, but other folks. Well, why don't we start off by you talking a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do at Toxic Taters.
Sure. So of course, Tanya RedRoad. Well, my spirit name's Badaba, which means early morning light. My family's from Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa, so I'm a descendant of there, and little I can talk today. Little Shell Band of Chippewa. Um, and I grew up urban. And so I was like, I grew up in Grand Forks. I moved to Fargo. I started doing some contract work in White Earth in 2009. So they've kind of become my community too.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty honored that they've let me work in their community and knowing that I'm not one of their members, but I've been in their area. They always say that us Anishinaabe, we went up and we didn't come back, and we stayed up there, us crazy ones. And as a, just a little side note, so we're very connected anyway, as far as the Anishinaabe. So that has become kind of my second home.
Mm.
And the work that I do over there with Toxic Taters Coalition, we are Indigenous farmers and non-Indigenous farmers who are coming together to kind of combat against pesticides. But we also have some other things that we do as well. So that's our overarching theme, but that comes with many things. I think about kind of why I started with Toxic Taters. Well, first of all, a friend did, like hit me up and like, you got to do this. You'd be so perfect. And I think she was really thinking the organization skills, like, get people moving and connect and all those things. And so I was really happy for that. But because I wasn't a bigger farmer, I'm just a gardener and I do a lot of community gardens and those things. I thought, okay, well, it's really about the people, the land, and the water. So I think I can handle that. Because I care about people, I care about their health, I care about the land, and I have the privilege of drinking clean water, and I want to keep that. I love that I get to do that, and I want that for others as well. So I think that's something that we can get behind at Toxic Taters.
Yes, definitely. And you are such a great organizer. I think that's one of the things that really stood out when I got to be part of your interview process with Miss Beverly and Zach and Willa. And it just stood out to us that you are so at ease in community and making friends and building relationships with people. And that is really the core of what the work is, whether you're in the environmental justice movement or other kinds of social justice movements. Like, your ability to connect with people and hear them and work with them is like one of the most important things. So yeah, and I've seen you do that in so many different ways. But yeah, I think that that's a huge like point of strength for you. And well,
Yeah.
also for folks who don't know exactly where you are, will you talk a little bit about like where you are in Minnesota? And
Yep. So we are northwest central kind of. We're bordered to North Dakota. We're only 45 minutes from there. And so we our office is in Callaway, which is just it's on the 59 corridor there. We're right, well, we shake hands right with White Earth there. And so we actually office out of the building from White Earth Land and Recovery Project, which is also a partner with us and that does a lot of work with us. So we really get to be close with them. So that's good too.
Cool. Yeah, and I know you do some of your water testing and other things, community events and stuff, and in Callaway, but also like Pineland Sands and Park Rapids and some of those other cities and towns up there.
Yes, we are kind of just all over in that, and we've been like our Park Rapids to Ada to Monoman. I mean, so we really try to go as far as we need to. And we actually last year we even went to Little Falls. So sometimes we're even going just a little bit further, just a tiny little bit out. But if somebody's worried about their water and that's what they want, then we just, we try and accommodate if we can. So that was over at Sprout. They had a nice little setup and they're doing good things over there too. So
yeah, definitely. They're working with emerging farmers and trying to promote like sustainable growing and really
yes,
like kind of smaller scale farmers, lots of whom are growing food the right way, in right relation
right.
to the land, helping them get up their feet, and that's great.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I would love it if you would tell us a little bit about some of the projects and some of the things that Toxic Taters Coalition is working on, and yeah.
So like we said, obviously the water testing, where we go around just kind of promoting for people to know what's in their water. We do have also we try to raise funds and look for grants that can kind of help us. Like, so when somebody gets told if there's something that's going on in their water, that we just don't send it home like, well, no, that's nice. We also raised funds so that we can help them figure out what to do next, right? So we offer a free testing in a lab, either in their area, or we can do R&B labs in Detroit Lakes. They're really great partners and love working with us, and always just kind of keep this ongoing contract. So that's great. But yes, so then we send it off and so that we can get more detail to what that is, because we're just really only able to say that, they have high nitrates, or, if there's something going on, but they'll be able to break it down and tell you what's really going on. And so I think that's helpful, because those tests are like $120. And then also then even further, if it's something, that is even maybe not fixable right away, we try to also like maybe get them some kind of water system that as much as we can help with, up to a certain amount. We try to, or if they wanted to go through another program, like for instance, like Culligan or whatever, we had them come out and work with us. And, if they wanted to do a system, we could help pay for some of that to get it going. It'd be on them, but we could help with some of that cost. So I think we try to really be creative and neat about that. Like, we know that we don't want to send somebody home with nothing and just as a result. So kind of looking upstream too. And we had one lady, we've been trying so hard to help her. She's like, I'll just haul water. And I'm like, well, you do help. And we try, and some people are okay with their old ways, and some people are like, oh, that's great. Some of the other things that we're working on, this past year, we did some policy training. And so that was really good as we're trying to, after we're now settling, kind of getting the system down of water testing, like, okay, we're doing some things, but how are we going to change some things? So we're kind of now trying to figure out how to go upstream. And these are things that were kind of in place before, but now we're being a little bit more strategic about it. And so now this year we're learning, chiming in, trying to figure out really like when to speak, act, do, following, like Zoe, Chris, you guys have all been awesome, like helping us stay informed. But our other intern, it'll be great because she's going to help us like figure out how to really track things better. And she'll help design something for us to really keep following, and well, that certainly helps me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I did not, I started out doing kind of community organizing before getting into policy, and it's a lot. It's like a whole kind of world into itself. It's got its own schedule. It's got, the ways that you can engage. And then,
Mhm.
it's got like its own players, and kind of you have to assess and understand the landscape in order to figure out how to really make an impact. And it's a whole
Yes,
thing to learn about. So,
it
and then
is a whole
not even
thing.
like tracking the bills and all those kinds of things, and things move so fast during the legislative session. It's like, wait, they were just talking about this and now it's like completely different, or there's an amendment that was snuck in at the last minute, and now it's like,
Mm,
gotta quick organize our folks, and it's a lot. But yeah,
yes.
great that you're
But it's
doing.
important. It's an important piece if you want to make change on a bigger level, so that we're not just sitting here spinning our wheels, that we can make some bigger. So I mean, and I know I feel bad because I can't be like, we're gonna grow though, and like we're so small yet, but I think I could see us with one or two more people, like, so that we can really. It's hard to be when you're doing everything, it's hard to be successful in one area. So you got to spread yourself a little bit. So I want us to get out of that and start bringing a couple more people on. So that's kind of our goal too, in the next year here or two, and just like kind of add a couple more people so we can really, so we can really focus on that policy stuff, really work on the education, and obviously keep our water testing, and hopefully even move up and bring back some of the drift catching, because that is also another goal too. But that is a whole nother beast. There's a lot of precision to that. And
Yeah.
so again, with a team of two, sometimes some of these things are going to just have to be a little later, but we are excited and want that. And those will go in our strategic plan.
Yeah,
So
phasing things. That's like an important way to look at it, that, you know, the water testing is so involved. I remember when I first started learning about it, when y'all were doing it, and I was just volunteering with you, and just to say like, okay, so what are nitrates? You're testing for nitrates. Okay, cool. And then you're testing for chlorides. And those can be indicators of things in people's water, of pesticides or of salt or of some other things. And that,
bacteria.
yeah,
Mhm.
bacteria, which can get into people's wells. And that y'all, I didn't know this, but that if you live in a big city, the city is required to test the water that everybody drinks for, liability reasons and public health reasons.
Right.
But if you have a private well, which lots of people do in Minnesota, um, almost like a fifth, I think, of the population in Minnesota, that it's not required by the state.
Right.
So you have lots of people who, might go
Don't know.
for years and they don't know what's going on with their water. And, sometimes you just assume, like, I feel like before I learned about water testing and the things that can get into water, I would not have even known to say, oh yeah, I should get my water checked and tested. So it's such an awesome thing that y'all do with doing free well water clinics, and really doing education with people about like the things that can get in their water, especially in, agricultural intense areas.
Areas, yeah. No, and I always think now though, like, I guess I didn't even, I mean, I didn't realize the intensity of it either, but I just always wondered why, like, why does everybody not drink the tap water though? Like, what is that? But like, oh, as I do this, like, oh, well, they knew something. Maybe they didn't get it checked, or maybe they didn't, I mean, and how many people come in our water clinics and they're just like, oh, we just don't drink the water, and they buy water, hot water, all these things. And I'm like, man, we got to do better. There's no reason. I mean, because now we do have enough systems, different systems, that we can at least make sure that they have clean drinking water. The kitchen tap water should be, So I think, but I think, people just are used to what they're doing. And so, but it is really important to know what's going on. And so, and we hear that a lot. People like, oh yeah, I haven't checked in a while or whatever. And now we're seeing people come to the same spot. So we're trying to also be intentional about going back to the same spot so that, and around the same time so that they can annually come and get their free testing. So.
Yeah, I feel like I remember going to there was a casino that we went to, like, talk to the folks who work there. It had a big staff, and some other places where you know, might be able to get people when they're coming off of work, or if they all work at one place. The library was a really good in Park Rapids, was a good place.
I can't wait to go back there because I didn't get to do it because I had COVID.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited because that was like the one place that I was just so excited for. But we'll be back there pretty soon.
All
But I'm
right.
glad that yeah, that is, those kind of things, those areas, those are good. And when I first went in there to talk to them, it was so funny. She's like, "Oh, you're here to test our water?" I was like, "Well, we could test your water too." She's like, "Yeah, we don't even drink out of that phone." They're like going off, like that I was like coming to save the day. And I don't know, maybe I was. But,
Well, you kind of do.
yeah,
I mean, somebody to, bring not just the actual tests that show people like what's going on, but also the education, the advocacy. When you come, you're there as an organizer too, and you bring Mike, who's a plumber, and he kind of troubleshoot and be like, like maybe it could be this, in your pipes. How are your pipes set up? Or Jeff is sitting there and he's like, well, you might have to think about arsenic potentially, like that's a naturally occurring thing in the ground. And or it could be, trucks are driving past your road and the vibrations can crack your pipes and things like that. Just like all these things that, people who, you know, it's their specialty to know about all of the inner workings of wells and pipes and all those kinds of things bring. And
yeah,
you certainly, just like, you are such a like welcoming, warm person. It's like a great combination of people, and water is such a, like, I think it's something that some of us can take for granted.
mhm,
I grew up in cities mostly, and so I don't know, I guess I didn't have to think about it that much until until we bought a farm out in a rural area, and we're like, oh wow, yeah, this is an area where there's a lot of intense agriculture with a lot of pesticides and agriculture runoff, and we're like, oh yeah, how do we know what's in our water? Well, we don't unless you get it tested. So
right,
just
yeah,
doing amazing work.
absolutely.
And I remember, like, the first time when I was volunteering, heard about you and Jeff and Mike talking about a woman who had really, like, high nitrate results, and how you talk to people about something like that. It's a hard thing to think about, like, that you are drinking something, or your family's drinking something that's poisonous, that's bad for you. And it's the different ways that people can react to that, and how you give them the information, and then how you give them, like, help and options, so that they can do something about it and protect themselves. It's just
Yeah,
awesome.
that's really important. Yeah. Yeah. And I think me and you we were both like, when we first got started this, we're like, well, what are we gonna do afterwards? We tell.
Yeah,
And I was
right.
like, I don't feel
Yeah,
about that. I'm like, no, we gotta have options.
right.
So
And
yeah.
that was why the fundraising, the Clean Water Fund is so important, to, like, help people get
Yes.
emergency water, um and if they need to get, like, a reverse osmosis system, because those are pretty,
Right.
but yeah, really important. Well, yeah, tell us a
Yeah.
bit more about some of the other things that you do. um I'm sure people are interested. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing we've been kind of working on, we've been working with Midwest Farmers of Color on a food injustice timeline.
Uh-huh.
So that has been really good, real fun. But unfortunately, I can't even take any credit for all the stuff put together. So kudos for all of those people who found all that information. I'm gonna be honest, like I think that not just finding it, but then being the first to process all of that,
Yeah.
because that's some tough stuff. But it, but sometimes we have to get through. We have to get through that tough stuff, the murky stuff, and the hard stuff, to bring that awareness to see what happened, where why we are where we are, and what are we going to do about it, right? So I think that timeline, food injustice timeline, really says that, and it shows some intentional stuff that was done to communities, especially in your Black and Brown communities. So yeah, that has been really great learning experience. I really hope that for Toxic Taters, the goal is kind of hopefully to maybe do one in the wider community and surrounding area to kind of see, how their community has shifted and changed in the agriculture, because there isn't a lot of Indigenous farmers, and a lot of people think that there is, but there's not. Like some, when we say we own land, our tribe owns land. We're just entrusted sometimes with a piece of it, but not too many of us actually own personally, individually. So I think that it's important. So I think hopefully that also will flourish in the next couple of years, is to be able to do a timeline in wider community and surrounding area to see what has happened and what's going on and what are we going to do about it.
Right. Well, I mean, and I think we can say, like, I work with Midwest Farmers of Color Collective and help develop the timeline, and I so appreciate you being part of our Food and Justice Project team, and timelines are such powerful tools for political education, and
yes,
like I'm very aware, I'm sure you are too, of like the kind of mainstream narrative that most people learn in public schools, or they they learn from the media. By and large, communities of color, like, our stories are not told, even the real facts of history, and the ways that land was stolen, the ways that genocide and really, like, attacking people's food supplies, and all of those kinds of tools of oppression worked against us, and the ways that we have organized and in resistance. It's like a powerful thing to learn, and to have that knowledge, so that you can fight now, because, like, a lot of the same tools are still being used, right? So yeah, I'm super excited to develop one around pesticides and water and stuff like that. I think that would be amazing.
Yes, and yeah, so I'll look, I'm looking forward to that, and I think that will just kind of help Toxic Taters to know where we need to be. So maybe after our strategic planning, we'll be able to have more vision what that looks like, to have a timeline, or start a timeline in that area. So yeah, so those are kind of the bigger things that we're working on. Otherwise, we're always just kind of collaborating with people where we can, and showing up where we can.
Yes, I think you have a podcast too, or like a.
Oh yes, we do. Yeah, so we're starting a podcast. We've been kind of getting stories, so that will kind of, I think, help too, as we're moving into this next phase of being able to share stories or information, even maybe putting things out there that we're doing. And so I think it'll be another way for people to connect to us. And so I think that is good as well. But I think also when people, even though it can be really scary, and it does take some courage, because people just, they don't want you meddling money when it comes to the ones that are okay with pesticides anyway. It can kind of be hard to tell those stories. So we're always thankful when somebody wants to share, and I think the more that we do it in the better that we get at it, we can really start addressing things. Because, as long as the elephant's in the room and we're all just kind of tiptoeing around that those entities, especially like RDO Foods, they get away with things because they know what their tactic is to hold us down. And it takes time, but I think we have some neat tools now, like podcasting. We have all kinds of neat tools that we didn't have back then to voice and to put information out there and bring awareness. So yeah, I think the podcasting will be another great tool to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I hear you're going to be doing some listening sessions, traveling
Yep.
to listen to people, their stories too. So I'm really excited to hear more about that. And of course, I'll be volunteering and helping that we can with our comms folks, Emily Summerlin, and figuring out how to get some of our grassroots scientists re-engaged around some of the drift catching and advocacy stuff. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that with our listening session, different things too, we'll be able to maybe figure out how to get some of those cute storyboards, but powerful, but cute.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That Michaela, our new kind of color person does. Yeah. She's amazing. And because a lot of the things are so complex or there's a lot of information, making those things visual, like an infographic or even kind of almost like a graphic storytelling, like a comic kind of thing to tell people's stories, has just been really great for making them like accessible and just things that people can look at on social media. Just awesome ways of getting that information out there. So, well, cool. Well, before we jump off, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, like, if people are really interested in the work that you're doing, organizing against, big pesticides, and water testing, and or telling their stories, sharing their stories with you, or even donating. What are some ways that people can connect and figure out, like, how they can get involved?
Yeah, so we have our Toxic Taters website. So if you go to toxictaters.org, we'll pop up. So that's a great place. And if you kind of go to, there's a few different things, but you can go in there. I know that we still have like our clean water campaign stuff too. So if you want to give to that, and then I always encourage people to email me. That's like the best way for me to get information. Like if you want to directly, like, hey, I need something, or I want to talk to you about something, or I want to share something, my email is always the best way. And so that's just Tater coordinator at gmail.com. And I know it sounds great. It's
like how you did that.
Coordinator.
Right.
I was in somebody asked me what I did. I was like, I'm a Toxic Tater coordinator. And I stopped laughing. It took me like a little while to get used to saying that. But yeah, those are great ways, as our website or email. Those are the best connection. I always answer my email, and and the website will also, if you say something on there, it'll shoot to my email as well. So yeah.
Cool. Well, also, if you're connected to PAN, Pesticide Action Network, our Ground Truth blog has articles and things that feature the work that you're doing in, the different seasons and stuff. So please, folks, feel free to check those things out as well. We tend to highlight, if Toxic Taters is doing well water clinics or, listening sessions or things like that. We put the information there so people can find out and get connected to you. So great. That's awesome. Well, anything else that you want to share before we hop off? Anything about the summer season or I don't know.
I think we're gonna be just ready to go. So
All right.
I just be kind to land and water. We need it. Our next generations need it, and take care of it, man. We need it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I have the privilege of having clean water, and I would like to continue having that privilege, and I would love everybody else to have that privilege. So, yeah.
It's true. We've got to hold the folks accountable that we know, and then work to change the systems that really aren't holding lots of those groups accountable, so that we all
Absolutely.
can, because that's one thing that Paul from Minwoo always says, like, all of our water is connected, and
It is. And it's our relative. So, how would you treat your relative? Why do we treat our land and our water less? So
that's so important. Oh, well, thank you so much, Tanya. I hope to do this again sometime, and maybe a little later, so we can hear more about what's going on with the latest stuff, water testing, or listening sessions. But thank you again, and we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right.